Hi, hey, hello. My name is Bailey, and this is something I've wanted to do for a really long time. I've always wanted to communicate my side of stories through relationships I've been in and through guys I've liked and those experiences. And one thing about me you should know is I usually tell my stories through writing. So me telling my story through speaking is going to be a learning experience for me. So I hope you stick with me and I hope you're patient because this is going to be a wild ride. I'm not going to start at the very beginning of my story. I'm going to kind of start where I think it's most important. Then maybe later I'll go back and add the guys I've liked and tried to start a relationship with before this instance. And so I think this one is like the most important one to tell. Now, back when this happened was when I was 18, and during that time I really liked writing about things that happened to me. Specifically, I liked writing it in like detailed stories, like she said that, he said that, she said that, they said that, I was into that. So I have a story right here that I wrote about this whole experience. I'm kind of like ashamed I did that, but also very glad I did that because now I can recount this story accurately to y'all. And I don't have to be like, what happened? Because it's all written right here for me. So I'm going to be referencing this a lot. So where the story begins is when 2014 turns into 2015. So New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And so I was on a cruise during this time because that was what me and my family liked to do as a form of vacation. We liked going on cruises. So that's where this occurred, was on a boat in the middle of the ocean. It starts with like me sitting in the back listening to karaoke, and I was kind of like jamming out to songs because they were singing like things that I knew and I was lip singing, but I myself could never go up there and sing because I was scared to. I didn't want to make a fool of myself. I was shy. I probably would like whisper into the microphone. So I was just enjoying my time, sitting in the back watching other people do it. And someone started to sing a Good Charlotte song, and that band was my jam back in the day. So I stood up for this song, and I was lip syncing to it and kind of like bobbing my head. And I see that out of like the corner of my eye, someone's standing next to me, and I kind of like don't pay attention at first, but he kind of started inching his way closer. So I looked and I was like, ooh, he kind of cute. And I was like, man, I don't talk to people. So I really hope he like says something. That's what was going through my head. Like, I hope he says something to me because he's really cute and like maybe I can make a friend this cruise. It took him a while to eventually be like, hey, like, you're gymming out. You should go up there and sing something. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I like standing here and jamming by myself. And he's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And then he introduced himself to me. And for the sake of this story, his name is Joe. So Joe and I talk for a while. And then he's like, yeah, my cousin and my brother are going to go up there and sing later. And he's like, we should like, cheer them on and stand closer in the front. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. A couple of seconds later, his cousin and brother come up and they're like, hey, we're going to the club upstairs. Want to join us? And I was like, sure. I don't got anything else better to do. So I went with 3 guys up to the club. So I was underage, so I wasn't drinking, but they were. And Joe kept offering me do you want a beer? Do you want this? Do you want that? And I'm like, no, I'm good with my water. So we stood in the club for a while and they were finishing their drinks, and then the cousin and brother were like, oh yeah, we have to go back down and we have to karaoke. So we went back down and they made a fool of themselves singing some rap song. Ridiculous. But I was having fun, so it's like whatever. Then afterwards we went back up to the club and Joe was like, man, like I really wish they would play some like salsa music because I'm a really good salsa dancer. And I was like, go like suggest it to the DJ and then you can like show me your moves. And so he's like, you know what? That's a good idea. So he went over to the DJ and he suggested music. And so then they started playing it, and then he was like, all right, now you gotta dance with me. And I was like, I am a really bad dancer. Trust me, you do not want to be seen dancing with me. But he eventually like pulled me up off my seat and was like, okay, let's go. We're salsa dancing. I feel so bad for this boy because I am the worst dancer. And he was trying to teach me, and I was wearing like, my outfit was like this short daisy skirt and tank top. I was wearing like this bowler hat, and I was concentrating on my feet, making sure I wouldn't step on his feet or trip and fall. And my hat kept hitting his head, and I felt so bad. I kept apologizing. He's like, no, it's okay, it's okay. I was like, no, this is so embarrassing. I'm so sorry. I'm surprised you want to be seen with me. But later that night, like after the club shut down or whatever, me and him sat at the chairs and we kept like talking and everything and got to know a little bit about each other. It's when I found out that he went, at the time, he was going to a college that was like 4 or 5 hours away from me for a criminal justice degree. And I'm over here like, yeah, I'm in community college, like right next to my house. And like, I don't know what I want to do. Kind of want to be a model, kind of want to go into business marketing and maybe fashion design, you know. I felt really lame because he was over here, you know, criminal justice. He was on the rugby team at his school. He was part-time firefighter, and I was like, wow, you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. Very cute. He's very, very charming. He got his life together. I really like him. And I am so glad he's talking to me, and he like talked to me first, because I would have never approached him. So that's what was going on that night. And I swear we sat talking till like 3 a.m. And then I was like, I should probably go back to my room. So he walked me back to my room. So the next day is a day where we stop at an island and we get off and we explore. And then later on we got back on. And I was in the library, like, reading my book. But he found me in the library the next day, because I told him that's basically where I live on a boat, is reading books in the library. I know. I was, and still am, super lame like that. So we went to the casino. I don't gamble that much, so I don't really like going to the casino. But I'm addicted to that coin pusher game. So I was dropping in a bunch of coins, and we happened to push out a chip for free champagne. And I was like, I can't drink it, or I can't redeem it, and I can't drink it because I'm 18, but I'll give it to you, Joe, and you can go and redeem it. So we got a bottle like that big of champagne, and so we started walking around the boat. So while we were walking around, we were getting like really personal and telling like personal stories. So one thing I brought up is like, I said like, I've never had a boyfriend, because it was true. I had never had one at that point. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, really. And he was like, I'm honestly not surprised, because you don't look like you date stupid boys. And I'm like, oh, let me tell you the list of stupid boys I've liked. And so I did. And he retorted back. And I'm going to read what I wrote here about what he said, because I don't want to mess this up. But so I wrote here, don't ever ask a guy if they like you. Just always assume they do. Here's the thing. I don't think you try, Bailey. You sit and you read and you stay to yourself. An introvert, basically. You need to live. Go out and have fun. Meet guys. Some will break your heart, but I can tell you're a strong girl. You just have to go out there and try. Stop waiting for them to come to you. And I'm pretty sure at this point, like, tears were already forming at the corner of my eyes and crying, because I was like, you're right. I don't even try. I don't even try to do anything. Why don't I just sit and I read books and I live through my book. I feel so bad for the Bailey that was going through this, because whew, she was a different girl than this Bailey. But so he went on, like, he kept going on that ramble, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah, I'm stupid. And I eventually say, yeah, I only like douchebags apparently. And he got like offended. He was like, I'm not a douchebag, am I? And then I'm like, you like me? You find me attractive? And so I wish I was kidding. Yeah. I was like, no, you're not a douchebag. You're like the nicest guy I've ever met. And that Joe did that to me. So at that point forward, I had like a hinge, like, okay, he thinks I'm cool. Like, I'm over here, like, you know, being the nerd I am, and he's the cool kid, and the cool kid likes the nerd. This is something straight out of a book I read. After a while, I'm like, okay, I know now that you think I'm attractive, but I still want to know, why did you start talking to me in the first place? And he was like, drop dead. This is what he said. He's like, that hat you were wearing, that black hat, I've never seen a girl pull off that kind of hat like that before. And you just looked stunning in it. I wanted to keep that hat forever because that hat obviously worked miracles. Joe liked my hat. That's all that mattered, is Joe liked my hat. But then the next day was New Year's Eve. That was the day I was waiting for, because something I had always wanted, and I don't know why, was a kiss on New Year's Eve to New Year's Day. I aspired to have that at some point. And I was like, this is going to be the cruise that happens. This is going to be the cruise. It happens. I was so ecstatic. I was like, I'm going to look really good. I'm going to dress up. I'm going to look so cute. I'm going to go find Joe, and Joe's going to be my first kiss, and the first person I kiss on New Year's Eve to New Year's Day. It's going to happen. I'm so confident in myself. Like, I got this. That night, I was looking, like, I went to the library because I was like, he knows that I live in that library, so he knows that's where to find me. So I was sitting there, you know, reading my book. I think I finished the book, actually, waiting for him, and he never showed up. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's at dinner. Maybe he's, like, eating or hanging out with his family. So I return my book back to my room and go back to the library, sit a couple of minutes, never shows up. So I start roaming the ship. And I find him standing with his brother and his cousin. And I'm like, hey. And he's like, hey, like, I'll see you later. And I'm like, okay, like, you looked free then. But I didn't like think too much of it. I was just like, okay. So I go up to the club, and I'm just sitting in the back, and that's where he finds me. And it's like inching near midnight. And I'm like, it's gonna happen. He's right here. It's going to happen. But like, the DJ was like, 10 minutes, and then later 5 minutes. And then when it got closer, him and I stood in the middle with everybody else, and we're like counting down, like 5, 4. My heart's racing. I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I can't wait. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year's. And I'm standing there like, it didn't happen. Confetti's everywhere. And I'm like, man, my dream didn't happen. I was a little bit upset, but I was like, it just wasn't meant to be. It's okay. It's okay, Bailey. It wasn't meant to be. So I look at him, and he's like all excited, partying too, drinking his beer. He drank a lot of beer. And at that age, I was very naive. So I wasn't really sure, like, the line between drunk, tipsy, and normal. I was just like, oh, he's having a great time. He's having fun. He's loud. He's excited. I didn't know he was tipsy, drunk. That didn't cross my mind. But he would like keep offering me drinks, and I was like, nah, I don't drink. Like, I'm not inclined to drink or anything. So I was really fine being okay with him drinking and me not, because that's just not something I do. But he was starting to act a little crazy, and so we walked away from the club, and we started walking around, and oof, he was a show. He like sat on one of the tables and knocked off like a whole bunch of drinks, and his pants were like, his khakis were like soaking wet, and I was like, oh my gosh. this is insane. Like, I don't know how to deal with this. But he was like, you could tell he was trying so hard to focus because he would look at me like, I was like, okay. But he looked at me like that one time. He's like, have you ever like really thought about your first kiss? And I was like, I mean, I've thought about it, but not like intensively. He's like, where do you imagine your first kiss? I was like, I don't know. I didn't like sit and think about that for a long time. I didn't imagine like some guy in shining armor riding a white horse would sweep me off my feet and kiss me. I never thought about that. I was like, I don't know. He's like, I think I know where your first kiss would be. I'm like, okay. He's like, we're going to the library.